Welcome to the Business Buyer Diaries. My name is Nathan Platter. I'm a full-time employee, and I bought a business. I did everything right, from finding the deal, handling all the due diligence on 63 opportunities, and ultimately bought a profitable gym. And boy, was I in for a big surprise as a new owner. I chronicled everything in real time, including the biggest wins to the stressful nights at 2 a.m. I'm sharing my journey without sugarcoating anything, so you don't make the same mistakes that I did. Here's today's episode. All right, so today I wanted to give an update on those three businesses, the conversations, and how they've developed since then. So for one of the three locations, the expensive, the nicest deal of the lot, for personal reasons, I had to not pursue that one. I've got some non-compete stuff, and so I wasn't able to pursue that one further until some time lines out. So unfortunately, I'm not able to pursue that one, which is a bummer. It's a club owner in the Twin Cities that is looking to move on to other ventures, which I'm learning is something that can be good or could be bad. Sometimes entrepreneurs or startup people are really good at launching a new business, getting things off the ground. They love the marketing blitz, the rush of new signups and sales. But then when it comes to the day-to-day operations, like maintaining customers or maintaining members, starting up new programs or upselling existing customers, people don't get that dopamine rush. And so it could be like it's just a floundering business, and so they're wanting to sell it. Or it could be that they're just used to starting something off the ground. And in this case, it was more of the latter. They definitely had strong revenue, very strong cash flow. They've got a good team in place from what I can tell. But they were just a little antsy moving on to other ventures in a completely different industry, which best of luck to them. And I wish I could have pursued it further, but stars did not align on that one. The other gym I was checking out, the cheapest of the lot, that one was good. Had a chance to meet them, and it was a bummer. I had three. I had an LOI ready to go, and I'll talk about that in a future session. But I was ready to present a purchase price and a thing, and I didn't know how the conversation was going to go down. But it was interesting when talking with them. These folks have owned the same gym for over 10 years. One of the owners works in the business throughout the week. The other works on the business for accounting and bookkeeping and stuff. And I was ready to go straight to logic and facts. And as soon as we started, they really guided the conversation and wanted to talk about the staff, their general manager, their 4 personal trainers. One of them might be staying or might be moving on to another part of the country. Someone that wanted more hours because their kids wanted to do more school activities, and so they wanted a little extra money. And I was ready to go straight into numbers and offers and setting up a deal. And they wanted to talk about the new owner and the relationships. And that was really eye-opening to me. For someone that's owned a business for a couple of years, gotten to know their client base, that personally hired their staff and grown them and paid their bills, or paid them so that they could pay their bills, that was really key for them. And I personally liked that. I tend to lean towards very statistical, logical, rational conversations, but that's really dry. And that's how a deal can fall apart quickly. But if someone really wants to care about the legacy of the business, who's going to treat their staff well, who's going to care for their members when they're no longer the ones responsible for that, I like that side of humanity. I like that side of the business more. And so at the end of the day, unfortunately, I wasn't able to come to a deal with them. What was the reasoning? They had the night before we met, they got an offer in hand, which was quote unquote good enough. So they got an offer they were willing to accept. Oh, here we go. The lease term. So essentially, I was going to be getting an SBA loan, the Small Business Administration. And one of the key elements to that is the SBA will only approve up to the same duration of the lease. So when you buy a house, you always get that 30 or 15-year mortgage. But with a business, the loan, which is backed by the government, like the insurance coverage for the bank. Okay, we're going to dive into SBA super fast. When you get a loan, it's issued by a bank, like a Wells Fargo or a local credit union, and it's backed by the SBA up to 75% of that. And so banks, starting a business or funding a business, that's risky. They don't want to lose money. That's venture capital kind of stuff, not for a bank. And so the Small Business Administration will back or cover that up to 75%. So the lender, like the Wells Fargo or the credit union, they get good coverage, but they have to prove that they were good at doing due diligence, making sure you were a good borrower to get that coverage if your business goes under. And so one of the backups for this is the SBA will only lend out long enough as the current lease in place. And for this spot, they have a 3-year lease. The owner of the building for this small gym has a growing business. It's like a gymnastics for kids business. And so they own a warehouse and they take up half the space, but they're growing. And so 3 years from now, they're wanting to take over the rest of the gym space that I'd be acquiring. And so talking with the landlord, they could extend an additional 2 years, but that's still only 5 years of a lease. And so my SBA loan would max go to 5 years. Well, that means I have a heavier monthly payment, and that bigger monthly payment, because I was planning on a 10-year payment, would now make it a negative income statement. I'd be losing money each month owning the business unless I did like a good membership increase or a lot of personal training upsells. And it was a lot of ifs and conditions to make it happen. And so that was new territory for me. I didn't have that much confidence I'd be able to pull it off because I haven't done that before. And so I respectfully told the sellers, it's a great business. This is awesome. I wish I could get it, but without a 10-year or longer lease, I won't be able to give them the offer that they'll be excited about. So that was a bummer, but helpful to know the lease or the lease factors if you're going the SBA route. The third and final gym, that was a package of like 8 or 9 units, and it was a bummer. That I realized that it's very easy to get into like the private equity play, and for this person, they're doing amazing. They're doing like $3 million a year in revenue, $800,000 a year in net profit, and so great margins, great take home. They definitely know what they're doing with the business. And that's just way too large for me to take on as a solo person. I do have some investors in the background, but not enough backing so that we could take over a business that would cost, I don't know, $2 million, $3 million. The seller is wanting a 5x multiple. So they were targeting that 3.5, almost 4 million. They did have an economic impact loan, so that would be an additional debt, but it was like a $3 million price tag. And I almost could do like not even $1 million. And so unfortunately that was just too big of a bite to take off. And so that was helpful. I really appreciated their upfrontness on their multiple, their price, some of the factors like taking on the debt that they would be transferring with the business. But it's helpful to know what your pre-qualification is as well. So in the next podcast, I'll be talking about the hunt for getting financing and a deal I may have in the works. The deal number 4, since these first 3 are falling through, but having these conversations, signing NDAs, learning the lingo, it's helpful. And you learn one conversation at a time, and eventually, if you have enough of them, you learn enough to get something across the deal line. So those 3 are out of the running for now, and on to next. This has been another episode of the Business Buyer Diaries. Subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. I hope you're realizing that business ownership is no cakewalk. Check the podcast notes for a link to the DIY due diligence program, the complete list of show sponsors, and for media inquiries. Music written and composed by Wes Schrock. I'm your host, Nathan Platter. Join me again on the next one.